My name is Simon. I created Applied AI to provide practical guidance on how to use AI tools to enhance our everyday lives. It's my goal to empower non-tech individuals by demystifying AI and making it more accessible. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how I leverage AI tools for professional use, specifically for technical sales applications, because that's what I do. So there are a million different AI tools currently on the market, all of which are constantly being updated and upgraded. So rather than thinking about what tools we should be using, I think a better way to approach is to think about what kind of problems we're bringing to the AI. So today I'm going to show some of those principles and demonstrate how I apply them to streamline my sales work. So before we jump in, I think it's necessary to emphasize the importance of data security and privacy when utilizing large language models or LLMs. So under no circumstance should proprietary or sensitive business data be inputted into these models, as it could compromise the integrity and confidentiality of the data. These recommendations are inherently limited and generalized, and thus need to be supplemented with professional judgment and comprehensive analysis. So the first type of application we're going to look at is research. So AI tools such as ChatGPT from OpenAI can be instrumental in gathering data, researching market trends, and generating insights that are crucial for technical sales applications. So jumping over to ChatGPT, we are going to ask it to provide a summary of the main antagonisms common in greenhouse stock tank solutions. As you can see, we have a nice rundown here of the various antagonisms that can occur in stock tanks, the reason why we separate A and B tanks. And an important part of using these LLMs is not only the initial information that's provided, but also the conversation, the iteration, the feedback, narrowing down the result we want. So I'm going to respond by saying this grower recently increased their calcium levels in solution, and tests are showing magnesium to be low. Could this be due to antagonism? And we'll see what it says. The response here is yes, it could be. And of course, it qualifies the answer, not knowing all the different variables that are involved in this scenario. So it offers us a few ways we can troubleshoot this issue, including reevaluating what's in the solution, correcting the imbalance by supplementing, in this case, magnesium sulfate, looking at soil and pH factors, which can impact nutrient availability. So let's iterate even further here and ask it what an ideal ratio between calcium and magnesium should be. Again, the answer is being qualified, but it gives us a nice range of 3:1 to 5:1 is something we should aim for. So you can see in that example how we were approaching the AI as if it was an expert in the field, because in reality, it is an expert in most fields, if not all. So let's, in this next example, explore how we can leverage AI to gain some market insights and identify some selling opportunities. So hopping back over to ChatGPT here, keeping in mind we do not need to use ChatGPT for this purpose. There are a lot of other good tools out there. This is just the one that I like to use. I asked it what the 3 top inputs are for Canadian greenhouses in terms of dollars spent, providing as much specifics as possible. So you can see the response here is fairly general, energy being number 1, labor being second, and inputs and supplies being third. So this is already fairly useful information from my perspective, but to drill down even farther, I asked it to break this data down further. In a given acre of greenhouse, how many dollars would be spent on each item, assuming unlit, conventional, in an area such as red deer. That way, we're allowing it to get a little bit more specific. And you can see here, we have some dollar figures now that it can take into account the climate, type of crop, type of labor, and here we have, what from my experience is fairly accurate in terms of what it would cost for a 1 acre greenhouse to remain in production for a year. So just another example of how we can, rather than spending 25 minutes on the internet, searching for articles, searching for journals, we can access a lot of this information fairly quickly. In this next example, I'm going to walk through what is probably the most commonly understood application of AI, and that is document generation. So in this case, I had it create a sales agreement template for us, and I used very minimal information. And granted, what we got back is fairly basic, but it's a nice start and saves us from having to go find templates online. So this could just simply be copy pasted into a Word document, and all of the missing information can be filled in. Or a lot of that missing information could be added in the initial prompt. So mentioning again that all of these documents, this information needs to be vetted before we distribute it. Another way we can use AI to interact with documents is for review. So here I'm going to have GPT summarize what is a very long text sheet, give me a one paragraph summary of, in this case I'm using a mycorrhizae biostimulant product. You can see it's quite long. Of course, we need to pay attention to these details if we're making recommendations, but if we just really quickly need to understand what the product is, this is a nice way of doing so. So I simply copy pasted that information over, said summarize it in one paragraph, and here we have a nice condensed summary of what this product is for and how it's used. The next type of application we're going to look at here is data analysis. And in many roles, including sales, good data and good interpretation of that data is crucial for informed decision making. So let's look at some AI-powered data analysis tools. For this, we're going to use OpenAI's advanced data analysis tool, which is built into the ChatGPT interface, but you do have to pay for the Plus plan to access it, although there are plenty of good open source versions of this tool available online. And what I've done here is simply pasted a bunch of raw data into the advanced data analysis and asked for GPT to create a graph for us. And this tool can actually make use of a variety of different file types, including CSV files for Excel, but also including Word documents, audio files, video files. And this technology is still very new, so we may run into some errors as we kind of work through generating some of these graphs or analyzing some of this data. But yeah, lots of potential here. We're still kind of in the early phases of this technology, so expect to see a lot more applications in this space going forward. So what I did here is simply paste a bunch of raw data, in this case, cucumber trial data, and asked it to create a bar graph for us. So using a very minimal prompt, like I said, I literally just pasted in data. I said, generate a line graph, as much detail and description as possible. And you can see we have a nice line graph here showing different varieties. And on the y-axis, they actually used number of cars. I'm assuming it saw Camaro, given that I didn't specify what type of data we're working with here, and assume we're talking about cars. Of course, that's easy to correct. And yeah, this would have probably taken me, I want to say, 20 minutes to input a lot of this data, set up the variables for the graph in Excel. So, a nice time saver there already. So let's give the AI some creative license here and ask it to create 3 unique graphical representations of this data, keeping in mind that it is actually cucumber production data rather than cars. And just from that, it was able to understand that we're talking about varieties here, different varieties, and it has some ideas. So it's going to create a bar chart, an area chart, and a pie chart for us. Like I mentioned, there's some errors in this process, so you kind of really have to be patient with this tool early on, as it kind of works through kinks. But in many cases, with a little bit of steering, it will end up with the correct result. So we'll see what it comes back with here. Fourth time was the charm with this data, and you can see some really nice visualizations of that data that at least I may not have thought of to create, let alone been able to create with my current knowledge in Excel. So yeah, just another way we can let the AI work with this data and come back with some unique representations of that for us. And so taking this a step further now, we can allow some of the reasoning capabilities of these models to come in. And I asked it to provide 3 unique insights around this data. And, you know, some of these insights are a bit more obvious. So cumulative production is higher in Mountie versus Winmar for this data set. But some more interesting insights that we may not be able to pick out when we look at this data, even when it's visualized in a nice line graph. So for example, the variability of pinched head Winmar seem to have much more fluctuation compared to other types. That's called flushing in these production crops. And so just an example of maybe a non-obvious insight that the AI is going to be able to decipher for us. And we could even go one step further and start integrating other types of data into this picture to provide a bit more of a comprehensive look and help guide our recommendations for the grower. We'll leave it at this for now. I think this is a nice example of what this data analysis tool can do for us. Another way we can use AI-powered data analysis is to create Excel documents and modify those documents. So in this case, I went ahead and had GPT create an Excel document for us that was a quote template. And the first version, not overly impressive. You can see it's fairly basic. I then asked it to add a bit more color, add some terms and conditions, and the second version is a little bit better. And from there, I said, hey, let's put some data in there. So I had it create a data set for us. I pasted that data into the chat, and you can see we actually lost a good portion of our formatting in the process. So this is kind of a limitation, I guess, of the current model. This tool is still in beta testing, so a lot of this stuff is it's still part of the development process. So you do have to be patient, but I use this as an example to demonstrate, you know, a lot of the potential application for this, and really a big time saver if you have a quote template on hand, you have a whole bunch of data, and you just need to integrate that data into that template rather than manually inputting things. The last set of examples I'm going to walk through involve workflow automation. So this is a little bit more advanced, and I think a lot of the utility has yet to be discovered here, because automation with various software has been around for quite some time, but now integrating AI into these workflows, I think there's a lot of potential that is yet to be discovered. I'm still figuring out kind of where to fit this stuff into my day-to-day to actually save time and streamline. So we're going to jump over to make.com, which is mostly free to use, but up to a certain point, you will have to pay for the service. So this can be used for thousands of different apps or software programs. I know it's used a lot for generating blog posts, automating blog posts. I'll walk you through one example of a workflow I created here. Essentially, it's a summary workflow, email summary workflow. So it is monitoring my email for any specific tags, which then that email goes through ChatGPT for summary, subsequently goes through a site called 11 Labs, which is an AI-powered text-to-voice software, and then that gets emailed back to me. So let's go to my inbox here. Let's pick a random email. We will flag that. Go back to our workflow here. Make sure it's running on all emails in that folder. We will run this scenario. You can see it's checking my email. It is now processing through GPT, generating a text to voice of that summary, which is actually trained on my voice, so it should sound somewhat like me. And we can go back to our email. That should pop up. And we can give that a listen.
The email promotes a referral program offered by PC Financial. Customers can earn 50,000 bonus PC Optimum points for each friend they refer who signs up for a PC Financial product and spends $100 with their new card by December 31st, 2021.
So there you go. Just an example of how we, if you're, say you're planning to be on the road for a few hours and you have a whole bunch of emails you need to catch up on, you can simply tag those emails and you'll have an audio you can listen to. So one example, I won't go through too many other examples here on Make, but I'll just kind of show you the way I'm approaching this software and the ways I'm thinking about trying to integrate it. So I have another workflow that is monitoring news sites. So, depending on what industry you're working in, you can have the AI. You would have make.com essentially monitoring these URLs, and anytime there's an update to a blog, that information can then go back to ChatGPT for processing, and then return to you. Another one would be for research. So you can assign GPT to search for various articles online and come back to you with that information as it comes in. It also has functionality for LinkedIn. So if you're comfortable enough with leaving AI with your LinkedIn access, it can actually generate posts for you. So just some different ways of looking at this technology, and I think as it progresses, there's going to be a lot more use cases, but something to keep in mind.